Hey guys, it's Mel. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about my 2020 plans for BookTube. I'm quite excited about these plans, so let's get going. Got them all written out on my phone here, so excuse me if I'm looking down every now and then. So, those of you who've been watching my channel for a while probably have noticed that I don't tend to be particularly up to date with books. I don't tend to keep abreast of what books are being released, and I just kind of find the books that I think sound interesting and buy them or borrow them or whatever and read them. Anyway, since I've been watching BookTube, I've been getting really excited about a lot of the books that you guys have been talking about, particularly the books that have been released this year. There are quite a lot of books that everyone's super excited about that I'm now super excited about. So my first plan for 2020 is that I really want to catch up on some of the books that I've been missing out on over the last couple of years. I've got a little bit of a list of books and authors that I really want to catch up on, so I'll read that out to you now. This list is not an exhaustive list though. I know there's a few that I've probably forgotten, and if there's anything that you really loved from 2018 or 2019 that you think I would really like, please comment below and let me know. Alright, so, like I said, including but not limited to Rainbow Rowell. I recently read Eleanor and Park, and if you want to know more about what I thought of that, I will link my October wrap-up where I talk about that in the description below. I also wrote a bit more of a detailed review on Goodreads, so I'll link that below as well. I've seen a lot of people talk about both Pumpkinheads and Wayward Son and Carry On, which are Rainbow Rowell's most recent releases. They seem to be reasonably well loved across the board, so I'd be really keen to read those, but anything by Rainbow Rowell really. The Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. I've seen people rave and rave about Nevermore and starting to rave the same about Wondersmith. They look really amazing and I'm really keen to read them. The Cruel Prince series by Holly Black, I think. Again, these are some books that sound really cool and really interesting and I'm really keen to read. Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. As you would know if you'd watched my most recent wrap-up, I will link it below, I love Circe. So, now I want to go back and read Song of Achilles. Red, White and Royal Blue. Quite a lot of my favourite booktubers, like Chelsea Darling Reads and Little Pal, have talked about how awesome this book is. I will link their channels below. So, I really want to read that too. The Diviners is another one that Chelsea Darling reads, as well as It's Jane Lindsay, Madeline from Novel Link, and pretty much everyone across the board in BookTube have been really enjoying, so I'm really excited to read them. They sound really cool. I think I'll just add now that everyone that I talk about, all of the BookTubers, I will link below, either their channel or a specific video if I talk about a specific video, and any of my own previous videos that I talk about I'll link below as well. Just so you know. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo is another one that sounds really cool, so I really want to read that. Nevernight series by J. Kristoff sounds really fantastic also, so I really want to read that. You probably will have noticed that the majority of these are fantasy or science fiction. I really love fantasy and science fiction. Fantasy used to be the genre that I pretty much read almost exclusively, but recently I've been branching out a lot into contemporary mysteries and thrillers, so I haven't read as much fantasy as I usually would, but these ones that I mentioned sound really cool, so I think it's time to go on a bit of a fantasy binge. Anyway, those are some of the books that I really want to get myself caught up on in 2020. I'll have a drink and then I'll move on. In addition to wanting to catch up on some of the releases in the last few years, I also want to be a lot better about keeping track of the new releases in 2020. What I'm planning on doing about that is basically two things. One is to keep an eye on BookTube because you guys are really great at telling me what's coming out. And the other thing is to keep an eye on Book of the Month. Unfortunately, because I live in Australia, I can't actually get Book of the Month. They don't ship out here. But I did go online and have a look at some of the books that have been included in Book of the Month, and they do look really cool. It's also, like I said, a really good way of keeping up with what books are coming out. So I've just decided that every month I'll check out what is on offer, and then I will order some or one or more of the books from Book of the Month through Book Depository or some of my local bookstores. So that's another way I'm planning on keeping abreast of what's going on next year. Next up in my plans for 2020 are to do some buddy reads. I've never buddy read before, so I'm really keen to try it because it sounds really fun. Hayley from Hayley Reads and I have decided that next year we'll do some buddy reads, and I'm really excited to do that. If anyone else is interested in doing some buddy reads with me, it might be a really nice way to catch up on some of those books as well. So if you have any favourites that you want to reread, please do comment below and let me know. I would totally love to do buddy reads with people. Another tip. The next few plans that I want to talk about for 2020 are all around my to-be-read list. First of all, I'm going to actually lessen how many books I put on my to-be-read list each month. This is not because I'm struggling to get through the 7 or 8 books that I have been putting on my to-be-read list, but I've noticed that I'll usually read about 4 off the list, and then I often add other ones and don't necessarily get to the rest. So I think what I'm going to do, so that I can be a little bit more spontaneous around my to-be-read every month, I'm going to have 4 on the list, 4 even on my list, and then that way, like I said, I can be more spontaneous, because I was always more of a spontaneous reader and just picking things up according to my mood and what I wanted to read. I still really like the idea of the to-be-read lists, and they make good content, I think. So I am going to keep them, but like I said, it'll just be 4 books every month. And that way, when I come to the wrap-up, I can talk about the 4 books that I did read from the to-be-read, and then anything else that I read as well. For anyone that watched my 5 lists of top 5 things, like books and series and authors video that I made a while ago, you'll know that there were a few things that I really wanted to improve on in terms of the types of books that I'm reading. So I think 2020 is going to be the year that I improve in that regard. First thing is that every month I'm going to put 1 book written by an Australian Aboriginal author. Whether it be fiction or non-fiction or graphic novels, doesn't matter. But I have to have 1 book written by an Australian Aboriginal author. Also every month I have to have 1 book that is, if not written by, then at least featuring 1 queer main character. So it would be preferable if it were own voices, but if not, I have to have a book that features a main character who is queer. Since I've joined BookTube, I've started taking part in some of the readathons, so next year I'd like to take part in a few more readathons throughout the year. I think I'm better off taking part in readathons that are dispersed throughout the year, rather than trying to do back-to-back readathons. I did try that with the Tri-Wizard Readathon and the Mini Contemporary-thon, and I totally failed at the Mini Contemporary-thon. So I think I do need space between, but I'd like to try and be involved in a few more readathons. The last plan that I have for my 2020 reading and BookTube life involves reading more classics. I'm probably fairly similar to a lot of people in BookTube and off BookTube when it comes to classics. Sometimes I really enjoy them, and I can read them quite quickly, and sometimes I find them a little bit more of a slog to get through. So, bearing that in mind, I thought that rather than trying to make myself read a classic a month, I would make it so that I would read 6 classics throughout the year. I've written myself 6 classics for next year. Of course, if I get them read earlier or quicker in the year, then I can add more. All of these ideas, naturally, are fairly flexible. Anyway, here are those books. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, A Room with a View by E.M. Forster, I think, The Master and the Margarita, and I really don't actually know who that's by, but it'll be there. Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, and North and South, and again I can't remember who that's by, but it'll be there. I said that was the last one, but I've actually got one more, and that is that I want to make some of my to-be-read lists a little bit more interactive than just holding up the books. So I'm going to be playing a few games and things like that. I got most of the ideas that I'm going to be poaching from Alexa, from Library of Alexa, who's a really, really cool booktuber, and you should definitely check her out. And I also got one idea that I'm thinking of doing next year as well, from Cody, from Cody's Book Corner. I will link both of those great booktubers in the description below. Anyway, those are all my ideas of what I'd like to do with BookTube and reading in general in 2020. Please comment below and tell me what you're planning on doing for your reading life in 2020. Any books that you really need to catch up on. Please do comment if you'd like to buddy read, because I'd love to buddy read with people. And just if you've got any suggestions for books that I really need to read next year, please comment below. I'd love to know what you think. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you next time.